And so, I'm reviewing all the important films of 2021. That's not my personal estimation, by the way. That's just my codified term for Oscar nominees. I'm trying to be cute, you see. It might work for some people. Certainly works for me. Anyway, I'll be throwing one or two of these out every couple of days. Today, it's Nightmare Alley, Guillermo del Toro's new adaptation of William Lindsay Gresham's novel and, by extension, a remake of the 1947 noir classic. Tyrone Power has been replaced by Bradley Cooper, and the film also stars Rooney Mara, Toni Collette, Cate Blanchett, and Richard Jenkins, among other fine character actors. It is currently streaming on Hulu. Should you bother with it? Stick around and find out. I suppose it's a cliché to say this, but Guillermo del Toro might consider himself a carny at heart. He is one of those filmmakers with a visionary approach to storytelling and a strong idiosyncratic style and an affinity for all that normies may consider the other, all of which means he belongs on the same shelf as Tim Burton or David Lynch. And so it's only natural he would be attracted to this material. The classic novel clearly resonated with him, and he must be a fan of noir cinema in general. All of that is in evidence here, in this meticulously crafted, slightly overlong, but nonetheless absorbing film. Speaking personally, I tend to have a love-hate relationship with Del Toro. I think his best work has been found in his Spanish-language films. When working in Hollywood, there always seems to be something slightly off. Maybe it's that in trying to mesh his specific artistic sensibilities with the requirements of a more accessible mainstream Hollywood product, he either overcompensates or holds back. Don't get me wrong, all his work possesses a strong signature. You definitely know you're watching a Guillermo del Toro film, even if he's slumming for a paycheck with a comic book action movie. He takes his work seriously, for sure. And so this is no exception. And Nightmare Alley is a serious film, but it's also just a good bit of pulp, presented very artfully. And you can pretty much say that about all his work, but one thing I can definitively say about this one, and I want to say I mean it this time, it's his best English language film to date, and possibly his best film since Pan's Labyrinth. He has made it clear in interviews that this is an adaptation of the original novel rather than a remake of the 1947 noir film starring Tyrone Power, and fair enough, the only real similarities are in the characters and story, and the fact that this is a noir piece, but as should be expected, Guillermo del Toro is working with a bigger budget and more elaborate production value. He is also free of any Hays Code restrictions when it comes to depicting the story's more unsavory elements or moments of shocking graphic violence, which are there, of course, though maybe not quite to the extent you would expect from a Del Toro picture. In any case, the film is vivid, full of imagery and impact regardless, whether it's explicitly depicting acts of violence or not, and it is also richly textured and character-driven. One of the reasons this adaptation of the story is about 45 minutes longer than the lean 100-minute 1947 version is because it really goes into great world-building detail when it comes to its setup. We follow the central character, a drifter with the heart of a grifter, played by Bradley Cooper, from the series of inciting incidents at the Carnival Fairgrounds where he works as a barker to the sprawling Gotham of 1940s Chicago where he becomes a headlining nightclub act, who nonetheless is still basically just a very classy con man. But it's precisely because the film is so mired in its details that it becomes so absorbing and engrossing. In fact, I almost want to say the film's second half suffers slightly because the rich backdrop of the Carnival Fairgrounds, full of interesting characters, details, and visceral excitement, is essentially abandoned for a more standard noir cinema milieu. When the movie swerves into more standard thriller machinations with femme fatales, double crosses, and twists, it's still engaging and entertaining, don't get me wrong, but it is more familiar ground. Now, to be fair, that's the whole point. That is the story, and all that Guillermo del Toro and his co-writer Kim Morgan have done is adapt it. And to their credit, they have kept it novelistic. This absolutely has a grander scope than the 1947 version, and feels a lot more epic and emotionally resonant as a result. The filmmakers have spared no expense in presenting this vivid world and the splendid cast. Seriously, every single one of these actors is tremendous and well cast in their role. They are up to the task of making all of this work, and all of the noir dialogue, some of it taken verbatim from the book, sings like gangbusters. It also maintains the story's dark streak all the way through and never cops out in any way. This is a fatalistic narrative steeped with a sense of impending doom, and we know where we're going the moment we step into the car. The thrill is in the journey, even if the ultimate destination becomes quite clear early on. I mean, let's be honest, noir cinema has tropes. There is a formula here. There is a tradition to honor, and the film honors it fully. If you've seen enough of these things, the bitter irony should be familiar to you. Its ultimate machinations and buttons will perhaps seem inevitable and obvious. But I want to be clear that the film is always fully compelling, entertaining, and quite satisfying. I can confidently call it one of Guillermo del Toro's best films. Hey, I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please give me a like and subscribe to my channel and share the video. There's going to be some cool stuff coming to the channel, so you're going to want to keep track of it, and I hope you like all that stuff too. See ya.